For a very long time, I thought my mother was a bad person. I thought she was the villain in the story of my life. She told me she had a big secret. It was a dark secret about our family. She promised she would tell me the secret. But there was one rule. I had to agree to do something first. I had to agree to marry a girl. This was a girl I did not know. I had never seen her before. This girl could not walk. She had never taken a single step in her whole life. On my wedding day, I had to push my new wife in her wheelchair. We went down the aisle. It felt like my own future was being dragged behind me. It felt heavy and wrong. I did not want to be there. I hated the wedding ring on my finger. I hated the quiet talking from the people watching us. I hated everything about this wedding because it was not real. It was a sham. But that wedding, the one I was forced to have, was a gift. It was the last and most important gift my mother ever gave me. What was the secret? It was a secret she kept for 19 long years. When I finally learned the secret, I understood everything. It showed me that my mother was not a villain. She was a hero. The secret proved that my mother was the bravest woman I will ever know. It changed how I saw her. It changed how I saw my whole life. I am from Denmark. My story starts when I was very young. My father died when I was only 3 years old. After he died, it was just my mother and me. We were alone. We lived in a very small place. It was just one room. The room was cramped and not very nice. It always smelled like kerosene because that is what we used for our small stove and our lamps. It also smelled like old rice that we had eaten days ago. Life was very hard for us. We did not have much money. My mother, my ma, worked very hard to take care of me. She went to the bazaar, the big market, every day. She had a job polishing brass. She would clean and shine brass items until they looked new. She did this for hours and hours. Her hands were always red and sore. Sometimes her hands would even bleed because the work was so rough. But when she came home at night, she was never sad in front of me. She would hum a happy song. She acted like she had a wonderful day, like she had been singing sweet songs to babies. She did this for me. She did not want me to worry. She wanted me to feel safe and happy even when things were bad. When I turned 16 years old, things started to change. I started to notice how the neighbors looked at us. They would give us side glances. They would look at my mother and then look away quickly when I saw them. The older women, the aunties in our building, would whisper to each other. I heard them sometimes. They would hiss mean words. She is a widow. She is alone with her son. She is alone at night. Something is not right there. Something is off. Their words were like poison. They made me feel angry and ashamed, but I did not know why. I also started to notice strange things at our home. Our small room had a simple gate at the front. It was not a strong gate. It guarded nothing important. But suddenly, there were 3 big padlocks on it. 3 of them. I did not understand why. Why did we need so many locks on a weak gate? Then I saw something else. Sometimes, very late at night, after midnight, I would see a pair of men's slippers by our door. They were not my slippers. They were not there in the morning. They belonged to a man who was visiting my mother when I was asleep. One night, I could not sleep. I was worried. I heard a small noise outside my mother's part of the room. I got up from my small bed. I went to her door very, very quietly. I peeked through the keyhole. My heart was beating very fast. I saw a man. He was tall. He was wearing a white kurta, which is a type of long shirt. He did not look at my mother. He just put a thick stack of money, a wad of cash, on our small table. Then he turned around and left. He vanished into the night without saying a single word. My mother took the money. I backed away from the door. My mouth tasted like metal, like iron. I touched my lip and realized what had happened. I'd been biting my lip so hard that it started to bleed. I was so angry and confused. What was my mother doing? Who was this man? Why was he giving her money in the middle of the night? The next morning, I could not keep quiet anymore. All my anger came out like a volcano. I yelled at her. Who is he? Who was that man last night? What are you doing? What deal are you making? I felt so betrayed. My mother's face changed. It was like she was turning into a stone statue. All the warmth and love disappeared. Her expression was hard and cold. She grabbed my shoulders. Her grip was so strong that it hurt my bones. Her eyes looked directly into mine. She did not yell. She spoke in a low, serious voice. "You will do what I say. You will marry the girl that I choose for you. After you say your vows at the wedding, I will speak. I will tell you the secret. I will only speak once, and you will listen to every word." I could not believe what I was hearing. I let out a laugh, but it was not a happy laugh. It was a bitter and cracked sound. It was the sound of my heart breaking. "So that's it?" I asked, my voice full of pain. "You're selling me? You are selling your own son?" Her face softened just a little. She looked so tired. "No," she whispered. Her voice was very quiet. "I am not selling you. I am saving you. I am keeping you from a fire. It is a fire that you cannot see yet, but it is there, and it will burn you if I do not do this." I looked at my mother. I saw the pain in her eyes. I saw the years of hard work. I saw the love she had for me, even in this strange and terrible moment. I did not understand. I was so angry. But deep down, a small part of me still trusted her. A part of me still believed that my mother, who had protected me my whole life, could not truly hurt me. So, I said yes. I agreed to her deal. A few weeks later, it was time for me to meet the girl my mother had chosen. My mother took me to a park. The meeting was arranged to happen under a big, beautiful jacaranda tree. The tree was full of purple flowers. When we got there, I saw her. She was sitting in a wheelchair, and she was not alone. She was surrounded by 7 men. They were her brothers. They were all very big and looked very serious. They stood in a circle around her chair like they were her bodyguards. They watched my every move. Her name was Saba. She sat in a shiny chrome wheelchair. She was wearing a pale pink dupatta, a light scarf that was draped over her head and shoulders. The soft color of the scarf framed her face. Her face looked very delicate, very fragile. It seemed too fragile for a world that could be so hard. Then she looked up at me. Her eyes met mine. I saw that her eyes were tired, like she had seen too much sadness. But they were not afraid. There was a strength in her eyes that surprised me. One of the brothers, the oldest one, stepped forward. He was the biggest of them all. He looked at me with a hard expression. His voice was deep and serious. "Do you consent? Do you agree to marry our sister?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run away. But I had made a promise to my mother. I looked at my ma, who stood a little behind me, and she gave me a small, firm nod. My mouth felt dry. It felt like my tongue was glued to the roof of my mouth. I managed to make a sound. "Yes, I said. The word came out quiet and weak, but it was enough. After I said yes, the wedding ceremony, the nikah, happened very quickly. The imam, the religious leader who performed the ceremony, seemed to be in a hurry. He raced through the prayers and the official words. I think he was worried that I would change my mind and bolt. He thought I would run away at any second. When it was time to sign the wedding papers, Saba showed me another surprise. She had a small velvet pouch. From it, she pulled out a beautiful fountain pen. With a hand that was perfectly steady and graceful, she signed her name on the document. Her signature was elegant. Then it was my turn. The imam handed me the same pen. When I held it, my hand was shaking so much. I could not control it. I tried to sign my name, but my hand shook so hard that the ink spilled. It made a dark blot on the paper next to my messy signature. I was so embarrassed. After the ceremony was over, my mother came to me. She did not hug me. She did not say congratulations. She just handed me a small suitcase. It had some of my clothes in it. Take her home, my mother said, her voice flat and without emotion. This is your wife now. Take her to the new flat. Care for her. In 3 days, I will come. I will come and tell you everything. The new flat was on the other side of the city. It was a place I had never been to before. When we got there, I saw that it was on the 4th floor. There was no lift, no elevator. I had to carry Saba. I lifted her out of the car. She was so light. She weighed less than the bags of groceries I sometimes carried. I carried her up 4 long flights of stairs. My arms ached, but it was my heart that felt the heaviest. I carried her into the apartment and put her down gently on the sofa. The flat was clean but empty. It did not feel like a home. It felt like a strange, temporary place. I stood there, not knowing what to do or what to say. I could not even look at her. I just stared at the floor. She was the first one to speak. Her voice was quiet but clear. "It is okay," she said. "You are allowed to hate this. You are allowed to hate me. I will understand." I was surprised by her words. I looked at her. I saw the understanding in her tired eyes. "I don't hate you," I mumbled. The words were not completely true, but I knew that my anger was not really for her. It was for my mother, for my situation. A tiny smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. It was a small, sad smile. "Give it time," she said softly. "Everyone does eventually." I wanted to argue with her. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but the words got stuck in my throat. I couldn't say anything. Maybe she was right. Maybe I would grow to hate her too. The thought made me feel cold and empty inside. Our first week together was quiet and strange. We were 2 strangers living in the same house, bound together by a promise I did not understand. We started to build a strange, silent life. On the first day, I tried to make lunch. I decided to cook rice, a simple task, but my mind was full of angry thoughts. I was not paying attention. I left the pot on the stove for too long. Soon the kitchen was filled with thick black smoke. I had burned the rice. It was completely black and smelled terrible. I felt like a failure. I could not even cook rice. I threw the pot in the sink, feeling frustrated. Saba saw the whole thing from her wheelchair in the living room. She did not laugh at me. She did not say anything mean. She just pointed to a bag of lemons on the counter. "We can make lemonade," she suggested. I told her I couldn't find the lemon press, the tool to squeeze the juice out. So She took a few lemons and started rolling them firmly under the palms of her hands on a small tray on her lap. This made them soft and easy to squeeze by hand. While she did this, she started humming a song. It was a popular film song from the 90s. I knew the song. It was a song my mother used to hum. I pretended that I did not recognize it. I did not want to feel anything. On the second day, something else went wrong. The lift in the building, the one that had been working yesterday, was dead. It was broken. We needed to go out to buy some groceries. This meant I had to carry her down the stairs again. This time, I carried her on my back. It was hard work. The 4 flights of stairs felt like a mountain. Halfway down, my legs were trembling from the effort. My shirt was soaked with sweat. Saba was quiet on my back. Then she whispered very close to my ear, "You're shaking." "I'm fine," I said through gritted teeth. I did not want her to know how much I was struggling. She was silent for another flight of stairs. Then she whispered again, "You are not fine. You're furious." She was right. I was furious. I was angry at my mother, at this apartment, at the broken lift, at this whole situation. I was about to snap. I wanted to yell at her to be quiet. But just as I was about to say something mean, I felt her arms around my shoulders tighten. It was not a clingy, desperate grip. It was a steadying grip. She was not holding on because she was scared. She was holding on to help me, to balance me. It was a small, simple gesture, but it stopped my anger. For a moment, I just focused on the feeling of her arms helping me carry her. We made it down the rest of the stairs in silence. The third day was the day that everything began to shift. I had gone out to look for a small job, anything to make some money and get out of the apartment. I came home late in the afternoon, tired and discouraged. When I opened the door, I knew something was different. The apartment was clean. It was spotless. I had left it in a mess, but now the floors were wiped clean. The curtains, which had been hanging crookedly, were now drawn perfectly. They were open just enough to let a single, perfect patch of afternoon sunlight fall on the floor. The light landed on the exact spot where my small cot used to be in my childhood room. It was a strange and beautiful sight. I looked around, confused. How did she do this? She was in a wheelchair. I walked further into the flat. The kitchen counters were clean. The few dishes we had were washed and stacked. The blankets on the sofa were folded. I even saw that a high shelf, one that I could barely reach, had been dusted. I saw a wooden spoon lying on the counter. I realized she must have clamped it in her teeth to reach the high places. I imagined her scooting around the floor on her hands, pulling herself up, wiping and cleaning and folding. She had cleaned the entire apartment by herself. I just stood there in the middle of the living room, frozen. I was in shock. How? Was the only word I could manage to say. How did you do all this? Saba rolled her wheelchair out from the small bedroom. She looked at me, her expression calm. I adapt, she said. She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world, as if adapting to impossible situations was as easy as breathing. That night, I could not stop thinking about what she said. I adapt. I lay on my makeshift bed on the floor. I had a strange dream. I dreamed of my ma. We were in the small courtyard of our old building. She was smiling at me, a real happy smile. I had not seen her smile like that in a long time. When I woke up the next morning, the feeling from the dream stayed with me. The apartment did not feel so cold and strange anymore. It had shifted, just a little bit. It felt an inch closer to being a home. Before the rest of my world gets turned completely upside down, please do me a small favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. You should do it now, because the next part of this story changes everything. It rewrites every single assumption I ever had. It redefines what I thought about my mother, about my new wife, and about what real strength actually looks like. 3 days passed. The 3 days my mother had mentioned. I waited. Each day I expected to hear a knock on the door. I expected to see my mother's face, but she never came. The 3 days came and went, and there was only silence. Saba and I continued our quiet routine. We ate the food I cooked, which was slowly getting better. We sat in the same room for hours, sometimes reading, sometimes just looking out the window. We did not talk much, but the silence was not as heavy as before. I was starting to get used to her presence. Then, on the evening of the 3rd day, just as the sun was going down, a car pulled up outside our building. It was not a normal car. It was a big black SUV with dark windows. It looked expensive and serious. I watched from the window as 2 men got out. They were both wearing crisp, clean white kurtas, just like the man I had seen in our room all those years ago. They entered the building. A few moments later, there was a firm knock on our door. I opened it, my heart pounding. One of the men looked at me, then at Saba in her wheelchair. He was polite, but his voice was firm and held a command. "Your mother requests the presence of both of you," he said. It was not a question. It was an order. The 2 men were strong. They helped Saba into the back seat of the SUV with practiced ease. I got in beside her. The car was silent as we drove away. We drove for a long time. We left the bright lights of the city behind us. We drove past dark mango orchards and small roadside restaurants called dabas that glowed with neon lights. The further we went, the more nervous I became. Where were they taking us? Finally, the SUV turned down a long, dark driveway. At the end of it, I saw a house. It was a low white bungalow. It was a beautiful house, wrapped in pink and purple bougainvillea flowers. It looked peaceful. We got out of the car. The men led us inside. The moment I stepped through the door, a strange smell hit me. It was a mix of cardamom, a sweet spice, and the sharp, clean smell of antiseptic. It was the smell of a home mixed with the smell of a hospital. We were led into a large living room, and there she was, my ma. She was sitting on a large sofa, but she was not alone. She sat next to an elderly man. He looked kind. He had white hair and a gentle face. His legs were resting on a stool, hidden under a thick shawl. Ma looked different. She looked smaller than I remembered, and older. The last few days had put more lines on her face, but when she spoke, her voice was as steady as ever. She looked at me. "Danish," she said. "I want you to meet Mr. Riaz. He is my husband, on paper." I just stared. I was completely confused. My brain could not process her words. I looked at the old man. I recognized him. His face was older, but it was him. "The man?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "The man from the nights? The one who brought the money?" "Yes," my mother said quietly. Mr. Riaz smiled at me. It was a gentle, sad smile. "Your mother is a very special woman," he said. His voice was soft and kind. "She saved my life a very long time ago. I owed her a great debt. I owed her safety for the rest of her life." My mother folded her hands in her lap. She looked tired, but relieved, like a heavy weight was about to be lifted from her shoulders. "It is time for the story," she said. "It is time for you to know everything. Please, sit." We sat down on a sofa across from them. My mother took a deep breath. She did not look at me. Her eyes were fixed on Saba's hands, which were folded neatly in her lap. When Ma began to speak, her voice dropped to a whisper, full of memories and pain. "Danish, when your father died, our world fell apart," she began. "You were just a baby. We were alone. In our village, the rules were old and cruel. The village elders, the men in charge, made a decision. They decided that your father's brother, your uncle, should get everything. He should inherit our house and our small piece of land. A widow with a young son was an inconvenience. We were a problem they wanted to get rid of." She paused, her eyes dark with the memory. "So they started to make our lives difficult. They wanted to force us out. They started rumors. They were terrible, ugly lies. They whispered that I was a bad woman. They said that I entertained men after dark, that I invited them into our home. They named names. They said the milkman, the tailor, even the imam, the holy man, left my room at night with a smile on his face. The lies spread like a disease through the village. It became dangerous," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. "People who were once our friends turned against us. They would throw stones at our windows at night. The glass would shatter, and you would wake up crying. I would hold you and tell you it was just the wind. One night, it got worse. A group of men, drunk and angry, came to our house. They tried to break down our door. They were shouting my name, calling me terrible things. I knew we had to leave. I knew if we stayed, something awful would happen. That night, I grabbed you while you were sleeping. I took a small bag with a few clothes and all the money I had, and I ran. I just ran into the darkness. We ended up at the bus stand on the edge of town. We had nowhere to go. We were cold and scared. That is where Riaz found us." She looked at the old man beside her. He nodded, his eyes full of sorrow. "He was a kind man," she said. "He saw our fear. He offered me a bargain, a deal to save us. He offered me a paper marriage. It would not be a real marriage. We would not live as husband and wife. But his name would be on our gate. I would be Mrs. Riaz. His name would protect us. No one would dare to bother the wife of a powerful man like him. He said his money would pay for your school fees, for your food and your clothes. You would have a safe life." My head was spinning. A paper husband, a protector. But I knew there had to be more. There was always a price. "There was a condition," Ma said, confirming my thoughts. "A price for his protection. In return for his name and his money, I had to do something for him. I had to raise his sister's daughter. His sister and her husband had been killed in a terrible family feud, a fight between two families. Their daughter had been in the house when it happened. She was badly injured. Falling debris from the fight had crushed her spine. My stomach lurched, my eyes darted to Saba. She was looking at my mother, her face full of love and sadness. "Saba," I whispered. "Saba is your—" "She is my ward," Ma finished for me. "She is Riaz's niece. Her parents were gone. Her 7 brothers were young and full of anger. All they wanted was revenge. They wanted blood. But Riaz knew that boys with hot tempers often burn themselves out. They make things worse. He needed someone to raise Saba quietly to keep her safe, away from the feud. So I made him a promise. I swore to him that I would raise Saba as if she were my own daughter. The only way I could protect both of you, my son and my new daughter, was to bind our fates together, to hide you both in plain sight. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red and full of tears. I made you marry her, Danish. I forced you. I did it so that the other family in the feud would see the marriage and believe the debt was settled. A marriage between our families was a sign of peace. It would end the danger. I did it so I could watch both of my children, my son and my daughter, grow up safely under one roof together. Saba slowly reached out and took Ma's hand. She squeezed it gently. She looked over at me. He is not angry anymore, Ami, she said, calling my mother Mom. Look, she said to me, he is crying. It was only then when she said it that I felt the wetness on my own face. Tears were sliding down my cheeks, but they were not tears of anger anymore. They were tears of understanding. I tried to stand up, but my legs felt weak and unsteady. I looked at my mother, this woman who I thought I knew, and saw a complete stranger, a hero I had never recognized. All these years, I said, my voice choked with emotion. All these years, I thought you were ashamed of me. I thought I was a burden. You let me believe you were doing something wrong, something shameful. I was ashamed of myself, Ma said, her voice breaking. I was ashamed that I was a mother who could not give her son a normal life. I was ashamed that I had to hide and lie to keep you safe. I wanted to be angry. A part of me still wanted to rage at her for all the years of misunderstanding and pain, but the anger felt so small and useless now. It was like a tiny pebble next to the mountain of her sacrifice. Instead of yelling, I dropped to my knees in front of her. I put my head in her lap, just like I did when I was a little boy. You gave me life twice, I sobbed. Once when I was born, and again when you risked everything you had to keep me safe. I am so sorry. I am so sorry I ever doubted you. I felt a hand on my back. Behind me, Saba had rolled her wheelchair closer. Her touch was gentle. Danish, she said softly. There is one more question you are holding in your heart. You should ask it. She was right. There was one more thing I needed to know. I took a deep breath and looked at my mother. Did you ever love her? I asked. Did you ever love Saba? Or was she just a part of the deal? My mother's face broke into a smile. It was a soft, genuine smile, almost shy. The kind of smile I had not seen in years. She looked at Saba with so much love in her eyes. I have loved her, she said, from the very first day she looked at me and called me Ami. Mr. Riaz cleared his throat, bringing us back to the present. The feud is settled now, he announced quietly. We got word last week. The men who hurt Saba's parents, the ones who caused her injury, they have been arrested. They are in jail. The danger is over. You are all free. You two, he said, looking at Saba and me. You can choose your own path now. The marriage has served its purpose. You are free to dissolve it if you wish. All eyes in the room turned to me. Saba looked up at me from her chair, her face unreadable. So, she asked, her voice quiet, what happens to us now? I looked at my wife. For the first time, I really looked at her. I did not see a disabled girl. I did not see a burden or a secret. I saw Saba. I saw the quick wit in her tired eyes. I saw her stubborn chin, the one that jutted out when she was determined to do something herself. I saw the girl who could balance spoons on her fingertips just to try and make me laugh after I had a bad day. I saw the woman who hummed old film songs while she adapted to a world that was not built for her. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I had been forced into this marriage, but now I had a choice, and the choice felt surprisingly easy. I choose to stay, I said, my voice clear and sure. I looked directly into her eyes. I choose to be your husband, if you'll have me. 1 year has passed since that night. So much has changed. Our life is completely different now. The old, cramped single room that smelled of kerosene is just a memory. In its place, we have a bright, airy apartment. It is not on the 4th floor. It is on the ground floor. It has wide doors that are easy for a wheelchair to pass through. I built small ramps for every doorway. There are no stairs inside, no obstacles. It is a home we built together. My mother, Ma, lives with us. She does not polish brass until her hands bleed anymore. She has a new purpose. She teaches embroidery to the young girls in our neighborhood. Every afternoon, our apartment is filled with their happy chatter and laughter. The sound spills into the kitchen, where Saba and I are usually arguing and laughing over our latest attempt to cook biryani. It never quite tastes as good as Ma's, but we have fun trying. I found my purpose, too. I started a small workshop in a garage behind our apartment building. I build lightweight, affordable wheelchairs. I use parts from recycled bicycles and other scrap materials. My business is small, but it is growing. And Saba is the lead designer. She is brilliant. She makes sketches of new designs with a special purple pen she loves. She insists on testing every single ramp in the city. I will be pushing her, and she will shout with joy. If I can do it, anyone can. She is helping to make the city a more accessible place for everyone. Some nights, when the air is cool, Saba and I go up to the roof of our building. We sit together and look out at the city lights flickering below us like a carpet of fallen stars. Saba leans her head against my shoulder. We do not need to talk. We just sit in the comfortable silence. 2 floors below us, we can often hear Ma humming an old lullaby, the same one she hummed when I was a boy. In these quiet moments, I think about the person I used to be. I think about that angry, bitter boy who was so certain that the world had singled him out for punishment. He was so sure that his life was unfair. And then I think about the man I am becoming. I am still flawed. I am still learning every day, but I feel grounded. I have roots. I have a family. This marriage, a marriage I never wanted, taught me everything. It taught me what real strength looks like. It looks like a mother who would wear shame like a suit of armor, who would let her own son think she was a bad person, just so he could walk through the world unafraid. And it looks like a woman who had to rebuild her entire life from a chair, who had every reason to be bitter and angry but still chose to trust. She chose to trust the man who once hated the very idea of pushing her chair. She taught me how to be strong, how to adapt, and how to love. If this story punched you in the chest the way it punched me when I was living it, please hit the subscribe button. I want to share more real-life stories about the twists and turns that life throws at us. Stories that prove that love often shows up in the last place you would ever think to look. Now, I want to ask you something. Drop a comment below and tell me, what secret would you be willing to guard to protect the people that you love? And finally, this is for every mother out there. To every mother who has ever had to take the world's stones, who has faced the ugly words and the judgment of others, just so her child could sleep at night without fear. We want to say thank you.